Before we get to our show, here is a podcast we think you're going to love.
Hey! Welcome to Shamblefest!
I'm Jess.
I'm Amber, and we are your one-stop weekly shop for news shambles.
We're a weekly WTF and current events comedy podcast. We drop episodes every Monday morning. Tune in.
Shamble on!
Help. Hello.
If you can hear our voices.
If you can hear our voices, please
save us from the never-ending Unsolved Mysteries podcasting.
This is Perhaps It's You, everyone.
An unofficial Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast.
Oh my god, it's so unofficial.
Quite unofficial. If you're listening, Unsolved Mysteries producers, don't sue us.
Please. We have nothing. Don't take it. My name is Liz.
My name is Samantha.
We're here today.
Best intro yet.
Yeah, I think so. Help us, please. Help. Send help.
It's cold as fuck in Minnesota. Liz just turned off the heat, so we're ready to come at you with some Unsolved Mysteries content.
Freeze to death. I was rewatching this episode before Samantha came over, and I was like starting to drift asleep. My eyes were closed. I was like falling like a little bit to one side, and then Samantha knocked on the door. I was like, what? Whoa.
But we're dedicated podcasters.
It's like when you start to fall asleep in class or something, and now I'm like, what's happening? Where am I?
What year is it?
Yeah. So
Robert Stack, is that you?
I feel extra unprepared. Well, this week we have the biggest update of all, I think.
We sure do. I'm sure you've heard of it.
It's that Netflix is bringing it back.
Unsolved Mysteries reboot. Rumors are true.
The rumors are true. It's going to be back. I don't think we have a air date.
We also don't have a host officially announced. We know it's going to be produced by the guy who did Stranger Things.
Yes, and the original host, or the original producers.
Yep.
And Netflix has ordered only 12 episodes.
And it's going to be one mystery per episode.
I have to say, I don't like that at all.
I don't like that either. That seems like too much.
I want a variety pack.
Yeah.
I want like a little smorgasbord of mysteries.
We'll see. I'm open-minded.
I think they're going to make it a little bit more like something that's going to be on the ID channel.
Probably. I assume our letters in the mail inviting us to host.
Yeah. I've been waiting by the phone.
It yet, hello. I'm sure it's on its way.
Hello. I recently was like, oh, you know who would be a great host is CCH Pounder.
Oh, yeah. I saw that on Twitter.
I think she would be so good. I
agree.
She really has like the gravitas that you need. You need someone... Particularly if they're going to do any paranormal segments, you need someone that you just like instinctively take seriously.
That's really true.
That where you're like, okay, like maybe because they said it. Like,
so you're saying not Jonathan Frakes?
Yeah, I'm saying definitely not Jonathan Frakes. Like not anybody that you would associate with something comedic. Mm-hmm. Like someone that has like.
I think you really captured
like theatrical chops.
Yeah, why Robert Stack was so successful in that role.
Yeah, because when he says it, you're sort of like, okay, like maybe. Right. I think you need someone that can bring that, like not a Wahlberg, you know?
Right.
Like,
right.
I was
so
like,
you've described us, so Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, someone
give us a call.
Serious.
We're not
someone
busy.
Extremely photogenic, someone available.
Someone who will work for very cheap.
Yeah, someone in Minnesota, maybe.
Throwing out some ideas.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep you posted.
I know people are so excited. I was a little bit like, oh, we'll never get out of this alive. But it's only 12 episodes. Right. I don't know. We're going to keep doing this podcast the way that we're doing it. We haven't exactly decided how we're going to cover these new ones.
Yeah, we're going to do something.
Yeah.
We're not totally sure what yet.
It'll
because we
happen.
Are currently on season 3 of the original Unsolved Mysteries, so it's going to be a million years until we get to these ones.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. We'll figure that out as we go along.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Oh boy, do we have any other updates?
I want to thank everyone who has upped their Patreon contributions since we announced the new tiers and our new patrons. We always love you. I was really surprised with the positive feedback. I mean, I guess wasn't that surprised. These people are already giving us money, which that surprised me enough, but people seem really excited, especially for the coloring sheets.
Yes, I'm working on it. The first one right now. It'll be out by the end of the month. It's going to be Robbie Stacky. I hope you love it.
I'm sure we will.
While we're thanking people, I just want to thank Al Gore once again for inventing the internet.
We wouldn't be here if
Thanks,
not
Al Gore.
for...
No internet, no podcast.
Right. So when you think about it, we have a lot to thank him for.
What a hero.
We appreciate Al Gore every day. Liz is trying to keep a straight face. We know Al Gore didn't invent the internet. But we will now continue to act as if he did.
I'm such a petty bitch.
From now
will never stop
until the end of time. So thanks, Al Gore.
Thank you. All
right, do we have any other updates before we jump into episode 12?
So
I want to say that this is the first episode. So when we first started watching Unsolved Mysteries, like back Perhaps It's You podcast, this is as far as I got. I got to episode 11 of season 3. So now we're on episode 12, and we are now, at least for me, in uncharted territory as far as episodes of Unsolved Mysteries that I haven't seen before. So this is an exciting moment for me.
Wow.
And it was a good episode.
It is a good episode.
So
it's a good one to venture into uncharted territory with.
Right.
I feel like season 3 has been going better than season 2.
Oh, yes, by far. Not as many lost loves. Kind of disappointed in that, but
that's a little disappointing. Not for everyone else, but just for us.
For us.
Because you need those like heartwarming things to like get you through the day.
Loves,
but this has some good stuff. I was jealous you got the voodoo mystery.
Right. I'm kind of jealous you got the corset making.
Okay, that's my new favorite mystery.
The corset making.
So many life goals in one mystery.
Yeah, we're gonna meet who Liz wants to be when she grows up.
Yeah,
in this episode. So we each got a little bit of something.
I mean, I think maybe just tweet at Netflix who you want the new host to be. And maybe that's us. I don't know. Or maybe it's CCH Pounder, or maybe it's Gillian Anderson.
Right.
Just let them know who the host should be.
I think we should let our voices be heard.
Yeah. We've been talking about Unsolved Mysteries this whole time.
Right.
Like, they should listen to us, the weirdos.
Obviously.
Of
course.
Okay. So let's get into some voodoo.
Yes. I have an unexplained death. And we begin the segment. First of all, I want to say, before we even start, the opening shot of Robert Stack, he's in a forest.
Yeah, he's in a forest for a little bit, and then as he goes on to explain voodoo, he's in like a botanica, which I really appreciated.
Obviously.
Where they're acting like someone's still working while he's standing there. Like there's someone in the back.
There's someone in the background just like walking around.
While he's like, as if the store is still operating while he's standing in the middle of it explaining that voodoo is not evil.
Right.
Which, thanks for that.
Yeah, I want to say right off the back that Unsolved Mysteries was more woke when it comes to voodoo than I was expecting.
I thought, considering the way they talked about Satanism, right. I was really expecting everyone on a tropical island does voodoo and they're
dances at night around a fire.
And they're coming for you.
Right. So their take isn't 100% great. I'll get into that later, but they're trying, yes, I think. Maybe. I was pleased with Unsolved Mysteries. So we begin flying over St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Robert Stack tells us that this popular vacation spot attracts over 1 million visitors every year, but that even America's paradise has a dark side. November 18th, 1988, St. Croix police are called to the scene of what was reported to be a minor traffic accident. What they found was the dead body of Radha Mahar.
Bad reporting there.
I'm going to struggle to pronounce the names in this segment. I'm already going to apologize. Radha was her first name. A few miles away, her husband, Krishnada, was found dead in the street. An investigation revealed 3 unusual clues. 1, the clothing worn by both victims was soaked in seawater.
That's so weird.
I know. 2, $25,000 in cash belonging to the couple was gone. And 3, and this is an excellent Robert Stack quote, the agent of both deaths was cyanide.
I mean, that is unusual.
Yes.
I don't know that we've done any cyanide deaths yet.
Didn't we have one?
Maybe one.
The woman who, in her cough medicine? There was cyanide in her cough medicine?
The woman that owned 2 wax museums.
Yes.
That's also some life goals for me.
Yes. Incredibly, the couple's deaths brought the number of cyanide deaths in St. Croix to 5 in the past 4 years.
That does seem like a lot.
Yes. Robert Stack says that authorities began to suspect that all 5 deaths were linked to voodoo.
That part seems like a little bit of a leap It's like, oh, we have what looks like a murderer.
Right.
We have these 5 deaths that it seems unlikely that they're not connected in some way, i.e. voodoo. Like, where's the connection there?
We get a little bit of the history, so I'll go over why they came to that conclusion. But it's tenuous. I'm just going to say that. Okay, so next we see footage of what Unsolved Mysteries calls a traditional voodoo ceremony in Haiti. Robert Stack says, contrary to popular belief, there is nothing inherently sinister about voodoo.
Unlike Satanism.
Right. Right. So Robert Stack says that voodoo is a unique blend of Roman Catholicism and African tradition. He describes it as being practiced predominantly in Haiti and Louisiana. In voodoo ceremonies, participants honor their deceased ancestors, some of whom they believe have become deities. Not a bad definition of voodoo. We'll get more into it later. Robert Stack, this is the part where he comes out, and someone in the background of this little shop is pretending to continue to work.
As if Robert Stack is like, they're just there buying some incense. Right. And he's like, oh, while I'm here, I'll give this narration.
Yep. So he says, many of us mistakenly think of voodoo as curses, hexes, effigy dolls, and potions. But
yes, it's called racism.
Yes. But these exist more often in the realm of obe, an underground form of sorcery unconnected to voodoo, but common in many parts of the Caribbean. Like all forms of sorcery, obe has malevolent potential. So everything he's just said about obe is wrong, and I'll talk about that later. But
what would make something an underground? He's talking about it like it's a nightclub, or
he's trying to make it seem like this is the evil version of voodoo,
right?
Although they say it's unconnected to voodoo, but it's like also the same.
Everything you thought about voodoo, you were actually thinking about this.
Obe, yeah. Right, and that's wrong, but. They're half right. We'll go over it later. All right, so St. Croix authorities have come to believe that the 5 cyanide poisonings on their island are the work of a master con man who practices obe. And they say that he tries to, quote, cloak himself in voodoo. So they're saying that this con man is actually practicing this evil sorcery, but he's pretending to do
people,
voodoo.
He's like, hey, come to me for some voodoo. And people are like, great idea. And then he's like, I'm actually doing this.
Exactly. So
it sort of seems like something that would happen in a cartoon, but go on.
Yes. Robert Stack next says he lures his victims into a vicious web of deceit and murder.
Oh, that's a terrible kind of web.
I know. It's the worst kind of web.
What a horrible web.
That's not what Charlotte was doing. All right.
Charlotte should have been saying phantom pig.
Or just deceit and murder.
Deceit and murder. That story bothers me. Nobody saw a spider that could spell and went, wow, that's an amazing spider. They were like, that's some pig. No. The spider.
It's really true. It's really true. So we flash...
A spider that speaks and writes English. Nobody was impressed by that. They were like, that spider's right. That is some pig. What?
Everyone assumes a spider is bad. But
I know.
They're really not. They eat mosquitoes and all kinds of bad things we don't want around.
They do creep me out a tiny bit.
Well, I don't really want them in my house, but I don't have any ill will towards spiders.
No. I just...
Maybe if we lived in Australia, we would. There's really not many dangerous spiders
you would have
here in Minnesota.
To be at peace with them, because aren't they everywhere?
Probably.
And Australian listeners, let me know. Aren't spiders actually your rulers? Don't you have to bow down to them?
To make offerings.
Yes. Aren't they running your continent? Pretty sure. I read that somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's true.
So we flash back in the reenactment to when Radha and Krishnada were still alive. The couple were both born in the Caribbean, but their parents had immigrated there from India. They owned a small grocery store. Radha's 2 daughters from her first marriage helped run the business. A few months before their deaths, the couple took out a loan to expand their store. Robert Stack says that they were soon in a, quote, financial bind. I'm not exactly sure.
I think this is like a loan shark situation.
Yeah, because it's never really explained what he means by that, but I assume that, yeah, either it was a predatory loan or perhaps taking the loan out wasn't a good decision for them financially. Maybe they didn't have a lot of business and that didn't help. They don't really explain it. So it seems like the biggest business began to struggle. Their daughter said that they were tense and didn't want to be asked about the finances of the store. Around the same time, they began receiving strange phone calls. The daughters say that a man would call asking for their stepfather. Krishnada would take the phone and tell his stepdaughters to go outside because he had something private to discuss. Just a few days before their death, Radha brought $25,000 home, given to her by relatives. She told her daughters that this was what she needed to pay to the gentleman, but when pressed as to why, she simply said, "Don't ask me any questions."
Maybe she shouldn't have brought it up at all then.
Probably.
They're sending out mixed messages, Mom.
Why do you have $25,000?
Don't ask me about this.
I need to pay this guy. Why? Why do you need to pay him? Pay him for what? Next, we see Radha getting into her car on the night she died and driving east. Radha's daughters say that this was very strange. Her mother rarely went out alone, and she never went out at night. 30 minutes later, Krishnada, I may be saying his name wrong, drove off in the opposite direction. Robert Stack says presumably to meet the mysterious man.
That's just a guess.
I mean, they do end up dead, so I guess probably a good guess, but there's really not a lot of evidence here. So Radha and Krishnada's daughters speculate that this strange man probably promised a high return on their parents' investments. They don't see why else they would have gotten involved with him. No one is sure what happened that night. Radha's car was found coasting slowly off the road. She was inside, barely alive. There was no signs of a struggle. 16 miles away, her husband's body was found lying on the side of a beachfront road.
It's weird that they're not found in the same place.
It's bizarre.
I don't know what to make of that.
No clue. And they're both soaked in seawater.
That's super weird.
So it's bizarre. The police...
Do you think when I'm found dead, I'm going to be soaked in seawater?
That would be odd if you were in Minnesota.
Well, it's odd here, too.
Well, yes, that's true. Maybe you'll be soaked in water from Lake Superior.
Lake Superior water? Great.
The police initially told the daughters that their mother had probably decided to commit suicide because her and her father had quarreled about something so big they couldn't patch it up.
Well, why is he dead?
Yeah, right.
Please. Think before you talk.
So, yeah, they had to take that back when the autopsy revealed that both people had died of cyanide poisoning. Very similar deaths had happened on the island in the past.
I think your mom committed suicide. Well, my stepdad's dead too. Good point.
Also, they died of cyanide poisoning just like all these other people.
Also, they were covered in seawater. Explain that.
Yeah. So, including a couple who had died just a year earlier. That couple, Ep12 and Carmen, owned a restaurant and had recently taken out a loan to expand their operation. However, they converted their loan into cash and set out at dusk one night in Ep12's pickup truck. A few hours later, the couple was found near death, drenched in seawater. Ep12 was in the truck. Carmen was lying on the ground not far from where Radha would later die. Their cash, $54,000, was also missing.
Ooh.
Very similar to this death. So we next hear of an earlier cyanide death, a man by the name of Caesar. His death was linked to what people, meaning the investigators, confusingly call voodoo, even though they are later going to claim it's obey, which is not voodoo. According to them, it's convoluted. So Caesar was allegedly told that there were jars of coins on his property being guarded by ancient spirits. In order to get those coins, he would have to get rid of the spirits.
Okay.
So...
Ancient spirits.
Caesar reportedly paid over $100,000 to a practitioner of obey who claimed he would be able to remove the evil spirits.
I would want to know where those coins were first.
Also, how much coins?
That you would be paying?
That you would pay $100,000? So it had to be more than $100,000 worth of coins. That's a lot of coins.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe just keep that money and let the coins be.
Yeah. You'd probably be better off. All right. So police in St. Croix believe that on the night of his death, Caesar went to the location where this obey practitioner claimed that a vast treasure was buried. Part of the ritual required Caesar to drink a, quote, potion that would drive away the spirits. The potion was cyanide. I don't know how they know all this. Because Caesar died. So
right.
It's not really ever explained.
How much of this is conjecture?
How they know this. So that's the end of the segment. We never get any more information. This is still unsolved. I Googled it. There's a lot of speculation on the internet, but no one knows.
I think it is a loan shark thing.
Probably.
I can't explain the fucking seawater.
Nope.
That's the part that's really weird to me.
Nope.
If he's tricking people into drinking cyanide, saying it's a potion, like, okay, that's terrible, but I sort of get it. I don't get the seawater thing at all.
It must be part of this...
Of the ritual, the fake ritual.
The fake ritual that this con man or woman is performing. That's the only thing we can think, and maybe that's part of why they think it's Obe. I wanted to do a little bit of research on voodoo. I did minimal because I am not the person to be talking about this, but I wanted to see if Unsolved Mysteries had got it right. They didn't, but they're not... Like I said, their take isn't that bad. But here's what I found. So Obe is difficult to define as it's not a single unified set of practices.
Sure.
And it has become more difficult to define as the years have gone by because, like voodoo, white people have co-opted its definition. So Obe is similar to other Afro-American religions such as Palo, Haitian voodoo, Santeria, and hoodoo, in that it includes communication with ancestors and spirits and healing rituals. But it differs from religions like voodoo and Santeria in that there is no explicit canon of gods or deities that are worshipped. And the practice is generally an individual action rather than part of a collective ceremony or offering.
So it's really, I don't want to say it's not that different because I'm sure it's unique in its own way, but separating it from...
is not true.
Voodoo and Santeria and other religions that come from slave trade,
yes.
Bringing people from Africa to North America and then forcing Catholicism upon them, sort of created these religions and...
Exactly. And Unsolved Mysteries are trying to paint a picture that this is sorcery, that it's not real, it's not like a real religion, and that's just
Robert Stack talking
false.
About sorcery and being like, well, like all types of sorcery, this can be used for evil. And I was like, what types of sorcery? What are you talking about?
There seems to be this misconception that Obe is used purely for evil or to harm others, and it seems much more complex than that, is all I'm going to say. So suffice it to say that the history of these religions is complex and nuanced, and I'm in no way the person to be speaking about it, but I wanted to point out a few things. One is that Unsolved Mysteries paints a picture of Obe as being something completely different and entirely sinister, and that seems to be oversimplified and incorrect.
I'm not really surprised they got that wrong.
And then Obe and the other Afro-American religions were developed by enslaved Africans. In basic terms, they involve the practice of harnessing supernatural forces and spirits for one's own personal use. And you can imagine why enslaved people might want to harness supernatural forces and spirits for their own personal use.
And why white people would think that was harmful.
And evil. Right.
Yes, because who are you trying to harm if you're enslaved?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So... that is where it ends, and that's all the information I have for you. It was an interesting segment. It's extremely mysterious.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. Yeah, I took a religious course on voodoo and Santeria, and in a way it's like kind of disappointing because you're like, oh, this is just a religion.
Right.
Like, you want it to be like more theatrical or something as a white person who knows nothing. And I was like, oh, this is just a religion.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. It's really... I don't know. Movies and Scooby-Doo or whatever created this very racist caricature of something that's much more dramatic and scary and whatever. And
it has its own interesting and complex culture.
Right.
That is just dismissed when you kind of simplify it into this caricature of... evil
and dancing around with snakes and killing stuff and whatever. Yep. And it's like, it's just kind of religion like everything else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, that was my segment.
Okay, well, this was Samantha's lucky day because...
hell yes, it was.
Oh, also, there was a ton of mustaches in that segment.
Lots of mustaches.
I drew a couple of them.
Did you name any of them?
One, I think, might be... this was the sergeant working on the case. I called this the horseshoe.
I like that. It does look like a horseshoe.
This was This was Captain Harris who was working on the case. This is the salt and pepper.
Nice.
I think the horseshoe's the MVM. There's actually
very unique.
A ton of mustaches in this episode. I couldn't keep up with the amount of mustaches.
Okay. One after another. Rapid fire mustaches.
As I'm like drifting. I'm like, what? Okay. So this was Samantha's lucky day because I got the treasure segment for once.
Yes.
And she didn't. And this is the Skeleton Canyon treasure. supposed treasure, I will say, I don't believe in it, in Arizona. And it dates back to 1881. The idea is that in this ravine, where there used to be a lot of robberies during the Wild West.
It's a canyon?
You're right. Because it's Skeleton Canyon. In this canyon.
The besmirched Skeleton Canyon.
Yeah.
It's not Skeleton Ravine.
Skeleton Canyon sounds like something from He-Man.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Such a bad... It's like, oh, where does Skeletor live? Skeleton Canyon. Anyway. Yeah, there used to be a lot of robberies there, which I'm sure there were, but the idea is that those robberies led to there being a buried treasure, and that part I don't believe. So we hear from treasure hunter Fern Hamill, who is studying and searching for the Skeleton Canyon for a Mexican treasure buried by American outlaws. And you hear from some people that are like, there's definitely a treasure, and some people that are like, nope, no way. And Robert Stack says, who among us has not imagined what it would be like to discover buried treasure? And my answer was Samantha.
I was just about to raise my hand, and then I realized our listeners wouldn't see it. I mean, it would be... The thought of discovering buried treasure is nice. I could use a buried treasure. It's just that it's not going to happen.
Every so often someone finds, I don't know, like money under their floorboards or something.
True.
That's not really the same thing, I guess. This is the story, as Robert Stack tells us, of desperados, deception, and greed. And he claims that this is the Wild West's largest unclaimed treasure, but I don't know what that's based on.
Is someone out there cataloging the Wild West's unclaimed
also, they
treasures?
don't really know how much money this is. People were speculating anywhere from 2.5 to 8 million, but
That's a large discrepancy.
I also speculate 0. So that would make it...
Your apathy towards this is amazing.
So that would make it a very small treasure. If it was $0.
Look, there's at least a handful of change in this canyon.
People have found some coins and some skeletons. There is a reason it's called Skeleton Canyon, is because people have found skeletons there. And
that's a treasure in and of itself.
Yeah. Sure. I always think of, like, anytime they try to do construction in the UK, they seem to find skeletons, because that's just like I call it just an island of skeletons.
Right.
Like, anytime they need to work on the underground at something, they're like, oh, crap, more skeletons. Like, they found that king under that parking lot. Anyway, just skeletons everywhere over there. Where the fuck was I? Arizona historian Robert Palmquist, meanwhile, does not believe the treasure exists, doubting the veracity and legitimacy of the letters detailing its existence. And then this other guy insists that he's seen the letters, but he won't show them.
Okay, of course.
Yes. Because they were...
True to its nature, the buried treasure has never been photographed.
Much like the Phantom Pig. That one of the outlaws supposedly wrote to his sister from this cave, like telling her where it was in case anything happened to him. And then this guy that makes too much sense is like, no, that's not something outlaws do.
That guy was my favorite.
He you're telling me that this ranch hand, who probably was illiterate, was writing to his sister every week and flagging down a stagecoach and sending her letters to tell her
where the buried
treasure was. And then this other guy's like insisting, like, no, we found this vase with her name on it, like the small crystal vase. And I was like, why would she bring that to a cave to look for treasure? This isn't... What?
She brought that with her everywhere.
Oh my God. And they found a cave filled with period artifacts and old ropes. Whoa, well, that could only mean there's a treasure out there.
Old ropes?
Old ropes. Yeah, this one guy is a director of a treasure hunting museum, which, who knew that was a thing?
What do you see in a treasure hunting museum?
Not treasure! It's just about the hunting, not about the finding.
Yeah, I want to go to a treasure finding museum.
Nope. No.
Those don't. So weirdly, those don't exist.
Huh. You can just go to the treasure hunting museum and see, I don't know, backpacks
old
used
ropes
to waste time. He believes that it is more true than other treasures, such as the old Dutchman's mine.
It's a low bar.
Yeah, it's a really, really low bar.
This is more true than flat out lies.
So the idea was, the legend is that the treasure was originally stolen in 1881 by Mexican bandits from citizens of Monterrey, Mexico, and that con artist Jim Hughes learned of the treasure and became friendly with the bandits, and then contacted fellow members of the Curly Bill Borkus gang or something. Which
Curly Bill Borkus?
Brock, I don't know.
That's the pig in our Forest cartoon that's robbing stagecoaches.
Yes, exactly.
Curly Bill Borkus.
Exactly. Named for his tail. They operated out of Arizona. The gang ambushed the Mexican bandits, but the treasure was too large to carry out of the canyon because their mules were shot. So they divided some of it and buried the rest.
Okay.
And then stayed in hiding for months. And that's when these letters that we can't see were supposedly written. And
Who cares?
One of the people's name was Zwing. Zwing and Billy were ambushed by the sheriff's posse, and Billy was killed. Zwing
had to carry on.
Reportedly detailed a map to the treasure before he died in another shootout. However,
of course Zwing died in a shootout.
Of course. However, an earthquake in 1886 destroyed all telltale clues that might have helped look for it.
Damn.
Several treasure hunters have tried to locate the treasure, but guess what? They haven't. They have found evidence that the legend surrounding the treasure is true. No, they really haven't.
Wait, they found... Okay.
They found skeletons and some coins. I don't doubt that the robberies took place.
Sure.
I'm doubting that there was so much treasure from these robberies that you could bury it and it would be like worth finding now. Yeah. And that's confirmed by this one dude who I called his mustache the Campbell's soup. Because, you know those like little children that were the old Campbell's soup cartoon people? He looks like that grown up.
Really does.
So, and he's the skeptic with wearing these like gigantic Jeffrey Dahmer glasses.
Yes.
And he's like, there's no historical evidence that there would have been that kind of money going through the canyon. Like, they probably got some coins and took them and left. There's no reason to think there was so much treasure they buried it. This, I think, was the guy who ran the museum, Hunter Pritchard. I called his just mustache just brushy.
That it looked like a brush.
It was just a white just line of hair.
Real scratchy.
I'm never gonna kiss Hunter Pritchard.
No one with that mustache.
Because it's gonna
kissed.
It's gonna stab you right in the lip.
Yep.
No thanks. And one of the guys just says that it's like absolutely real. And then like at the end of his rant goes, everything is real. And I just wrote that down because what an amazing quote. What? He really is like, no, this is real. The map is real. The letters are real. Everything is real. Everything?
Really? Everything?
Really? Okay. Also, at one point, the guy with the brushy mustache is like doing some research in what might be a library and has a pipe. Like, dude, no.
Of course he does.
No. Leave your pipe out of the library, please. Or the records room, or wherever the hell you are. And he's claiming the reason that treasure hasn't been found is because of that earthquake, and that now the treasure is 20 feet deep, though I have no idea how he would know that.
Then go find it. Oh, that's right. You can't.
You can't.
Because the government's covering it up.
He's also dead.
Okay, wow.
And Robert Stack tells you, like, by the way, you're also not supposed... Now that we, like, enticed you with looking for this treasure, you're not supposed to dig there.
Yeah, because the government's like, fuck, all these just fucking treasure hunters just digging holes in this land we need.
Oh, the guy that said everything is real and was insisting this was real, his name was Fern Hamill.
Okay.
Is that...
Fern?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Fern Hamill. Well, he passed away in 2011 at the age of 94. And he said he would look for that treasure for his whole life. Maybe he did. Guess what he never found? R.I.P. Fern. The Unsolved Mysteries Wiki claims that someone found this in a book called The Weirdest People in the World. But when I was, like, looking around online, it was like, no, this treasure's not real. No one ever found it. There's no historical record that type of money was stolen. This is just bullshit. So, goodbye.
Right. Well, there's never a treasure.
There's never a treasure.
What there is horrifying stories about women being attacked.
There's always those.
Is that the worst transition?
Oh, God, that was bad.
Podcasting.
But this segment, I'm just going to put a trigger warning for everything.
Yes.
Just all,
yeah.
If you have trauma of any kind, if you just don't like shit, no, don't watch this.
Might not want to watch this one.
It's scary as fuck.
Yeah. So this is a wanted. Debbie, quote in quotation marks.
That's not her real name, everyone. Don't try to track down Debbie based on that information because they made it up.
Is a Winston-Salem, North Carolina secretary who was assaulted by an unknown attacker for several hours on March 22nd, 1990. The man shot her in the face with a 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun and left her for dead.
This is an absolute nightmare.
2 police officers found her stumbling out of the woods near Business Route 95 in Fayetteville. They immediately contacted paramedics who took her to a nearby hospital.
If the reenactment is accurate, it's probably even more terrible than this. She's like stumbling out covered in blood, like barely clothed. I mean, she's been literally shot in the face.
Yep. So, although her life was saved, she has been disfigured as a result of the attack. So, Debbie eventually described to police the events that led up to her being left for dead in the woods. On the morning of March 22nd, she made a large cash withdrawal at the First Union Bank in Winston-Salem. She left the bank at 9:40 a.m., but as she entered her car, her attacker went through the passenger door and held a shotgun to her head. He told her to drive to a liquor store 3 miles away. When he went inside, the man took her keys with him. He watched her from the window and told her that if she tried to escape, he would kill everyone in the store.
This is so terrifying.
I know. After buying a bottle of whiskey, he returned to the car and told her to drive on Interstate 40 East and 421 South to Fayetteville. All right.
I like that he had to make a liquor stop before this.
Yeah.
So weird.
So the drive lasted for over 4 hours. During this time, he threatened her life, drank heavily from the bottle of whiskey, and bragged that he had once killed a man in New York. About 3 miles north of Fayetteville, the man forced her to pull off to the side of the road. He then forced her at gunpoint into the nearby woods. When she tried to escape, the man chased after her and grabbed her, beating her, raping her, and shooting her in the head.
The way this reenactment is shot with these like
blurry fisheye lens,
yeah, and then it's
motion.
Like it's in slow motion, but there's lots of quick cuts. Mm-hmm. It's really creepy,
and it's sort of a tracking shot of him chasing her through the woods.
I hate it.
It's pretty awful. At the same time, one of the officers that later found Debbie saw her car on the side of the road. Before he could investigate, however, a speeding vehicle went by and he had to pursue it.
Very sad.
When her attacker was finished attacking her, he fled in her car, which was later found in Florida. Fayetteville police officers examined the crime scene. They found the assailant's jacket and gloves, along with some other evidence. The police are now searching for the assailant. They are protecting his victim's identity in the process. So what happened was these 2 police officers were sitting in their like squad cars on the side of the road, like talking like they do sometimes, and they kind of squint, and in the distance they see a figure coming out of the woods, and when they get out of their cars to investigate, they notice that it's a woman stumbling, covered in blood.
So
her clothes
sad.
are ripped. It's just a horrible sight. She collapses. They call paramedics. Thankfully, she was able to be saved, but she was shot in the face, and the doctors described like the worst wounds they've ever seen. They can't believe she survived. Her family is interviewed for the show and says that they wanted her boyfriend to be there or something when they all wanted to be with her when she first saw her face, but someone brought her a balloon that had like a reflective surface, and she ended up seeing her reflection in the balloon when she was alone and had no one there to support her. So this is like the worst story you can possibly imagine. As a possible suspect in Debbie's attack is Ernest Ray Cherry, who is convicted of attacking and raping another woman in North Carolina in 1992. He matches the description of Debbie's attacker, and there are several similarities between his known victim's attack and Debbie's.
Okay.
Also,
that sketch was terrible.
It was real bad. Also, Cherry's abducted his victim from the same city that Debbie was abducted from.
Okay, interesting.
Cherry is currently serving a life sentence for the rape and attempted murder of the other victim. However, he has never been charged or officially named a suspect in Debbie's case. There's no update. They never officially solve her case. They do sort of think it's this Cherry guy. There's a lot of speculation on like unsolvedmysteries.com and the Reddit threads and stuff, but no one knows, and it's really, really fucking terrible. And the reenactments in this one are going to give you nightmares, so be warned.
I think it's awful that they don't know who did this. It's awful for her to have to go about her life knowing that person's still out there. It's awful because I'm sure that's not a type of crime I would imagine someone commits once.
Yeah.
But also, she should be allowed to shoot that person in the face.
I think so. And so Unsolved Mysteries interviews her. They kind of disguise her voice, and she's blacked out. Her face is blacked out, and of course they disguise her name. She is remarkable. Yeah. And she talks about, she's like, I know it's an unlikely scenario that this person would find me again, but I am, kind of worried that he's still out there. She's like, not be? She's so calm about it. I know. So logical, where I would be like, I'll never leave my house.
I would just be a wreck forever.
Yeah. So she's amazing, and it's so horrible what happened to her, and it's unfortunate that she never got justice.
Robert Stack introduces the segment saying like, "Oh, this is one's gonna be hard to watch, but we really want to catch this criminal," and the reenactment is awful in a way that absolutely does not help catch him.
It adds nothing to...
It just makes it terrifying.
It's just sensational.
Yeah. So
can you imagine Debbie sitting down to watch her segment?
I hope she didn't.
And having to see that reenactment?
I hope she didn't.
That's awful.
Yeah, because it's very scary. And, yeah, so unnecessary.
She probably doesn't want to relive that.
No.
So...
I did notice that... Actually, listener Robin pointed this out on Twitter that so Unsolved Mysteries is coming back, and in their like press release, they were saying like, oh, the original Unsolved Mysteries talked to families and investigators and used actors for reenactments. And Robin was like, no, Unsolved Mysteries used real people in their reenactments. And I was wondering if they were trying to like downplay that because it sounds horrific.
And it usually is. We talked about this. I'm not sure if it was our last episode where the man found his dead son in the woods, and he
Why would he want to reenact
finding the body of his dead son?
Apparently, as Unsolved Mysteries goes on, they do less and less real people and more actors. But the PTSD that must have caused.
Oh my God.
Yikes.
Yeah, you don't want to relive that.
No, absolutely not.
And it does not help catch these people or solve anything.
To show, like, him chasing her through the woods like that, how is that going to help catch him?
It's not.
Yeah. And it didn't.
No.
So,
did not.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just move on. That's terrible.
The next one's real good. I'm going to eat another Cadbury mini egg.
Please do.
Because Liz has left these in front of me and I can't help myself.
They're the dark chocolate ones too. They're so good. Okay, so this is a Lost Heirs, and this is now my new favorite case. This is the case of Dorothea Allen. She was from Sutton-under-Brailes, England, and this case dates to January 4th, 1990. So heir hunters, which is apparently a thing, are searching for any relatives of Dorothea Allen, a wealthy recluse who died in 1990, and that she had left an estate of $4 million, but she had left no will. So her history was that her and her husband Robert were very elusive private people and like the richest people in town, that their business had been that they made surgical corsets for women, but then they added like bows and lace and stuff to make them like look less drab, and that made them a ton of money. However, Dorothea was known for being like a real taskmaster and was super cruel to her employees and was a huge perfectionist and didn't pay very well, and like a journalist talks about how she like ran her servants ragged. And so at some point, Robert Stack describes her as a quirky eccentric, yet to some she was a shrew. And I just have to wonder if that's how I will be remembered. A quirky eccentric, but to some, a shrew. Okay.
But to some, a big old bitch.
Yeah, exactly. One example of what a like horrible person she was to work for was that she demanded people walked out of her office backwards so that they didn't turn her back to her. Like, okay. And another example was that at the Christmas parties.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Her and her husband would sit on fucking thrones. And the only people allowed to talk to them were like workers who met a certain quota for the year. And
that was like their reward.
Was that they got
you go to the Christmas party, do you get a gift? No.
No, you get
do you get some free hors d'oeuvres? Maybe, but they're probably shitty. You get to talk.
You get to talk to your fucking boss who's a bitch. They would put up like a velvet rope and you could go up and they would be like, oh, you've done a wonderful job once again. So, yeah, clearly everyone hated her. So even though she had lived this very glamorous life and it was said that she had danced with Fred Astaire and she had once dined with Gary Cooper and all this stuff, by the time she dies, 5 people go to her funeral. Because everyone...
They reenact it too and it's
so
amazing.
Great. Like, because everybody fucking hated her in this town. And I'm sure they were just, like, waiting for her to die. In 1965 is when her husband had passed away. And that's when she starts becoming, like, sort of a recluse. She doesn't deal with his death well. They were very close. He was apparently the only person who liked her, really. So, she's, like... Max saw this part where she was like lighting cigars to like keep his essence around, and Max like, that doesn't work. If you don't like puff on cigars, they don't keep burning. I don't know. That was just fun. He just like walks through and is like, that wouldn't work.
that was Mac. His gripe with this.
Yeah, thanks, Mac. So after his death, she gets into a Rolls Royce accident and then never leaves home again. So she becomes a shut-in for 20 years. And during that time, she erases all traces of her past. She cuts up photographs.
They show her on her bed, her like 4-poster
so
bed
glamorous
in this like silk robe, and she's just like cutting her face out of her passport.
Yeah, which I was also like, just burn that shit.
It's much more dramatic to sit there with a gilded scissors.
Solid gold scissors for hours cutting yourself out of every photograph. I was like, just throw them away. You don't need to keep them. But anyway, she had cut herself out of her other photographs. She had torn papers out of her passport. She had refused to make a will. And when people asked her about it, she was like, people have too much money anyway. Which is hilarious for someone who got into a Rolls Royce accident. Oh my God. And it seemed that she was covering something up. And one theory was that she was of lowly birth. All right, whatever. Okay. Class.
So what?
She was hiding her class. And another theory was that her and her husband Robert were actually brother and sister.
I did not see this coming.
And that they were hiding that because they didn't want people to know of their incest. That turns out to not be true.
It just seems like rumors. She's sitting alone.
Because everybody doesn't like her.
No one likes her. She's just the old
everybody was
recluse in a mansion.
You know what? I bet she was screwing her brother because they don't like her. What it turns out is that when she met Robert, he was married. And that he could not get a divorce. So he left his wife for Dorothea, and they were not technically married because he could not remarry. So that is what she was trying to hide from everyone.
Got it.
But I just feel like there's nothing more glamorous than wealthy corset maker turned shut-in who spends all of her time in like a robe in bed after a Rolls Royce accident. It's just my heart.
A cigar is burning next to the bed.
Yes. Did she get up only at midnight to play the harp? Like, what? I realized she was a horrible person and a huge bitch, but man, oh man.
Whatever.
She knew how to live. So after it was figured out that she was born Dorothy Brommer, and she was the daughter of a steel worker. She had been born in 1895. There's some talk in the episode about, oh, maybe her last name is this, and she's from Germany, but then none of that turns out to be true. And she was identified by a childhood sweetheart who had been a wartime pilot and like recognized her. I'm not sure if from the show or if, like from some article or something.
Maybe
but
her behavior.
Yeah, he just figured out.
I know who that is.
Oh man, we used to date. He like figured out that it was her, and that is why she had like tried to hide her. She was trying to hide both that she was common folk and that they were not technically married. But they managed to find a number of heirs that were relatives of her parents, and more than 70 relatives were located, and they each received about 40 grand.
Nice.
Yeah. So
good for them.
There's not a ton to this story. It's just both hilarious and so glamorous. And I loved all the people talking trash about her too.
Yep.
Like, no one holds back at all. There's sentences like, Dorothea was a very nasty piece of work. Like, this is someone who's dead, and I feel like there's a tendency to sort of act like after someone's died, like, oh, they really weren't that bad. And it just cuts to someone going, she was a nasty piece of work. Right? Like, oh, also, I wanted to mention that they had traveled on the Queen Mary.
All right.
Which connects to
other mysteries.
Another mystery. And another funny part was when a journalist was speculating, like, I don't understand why she didn't make a will. And she said, I wouldn't have thought anybody would want to leave money to the government. I just thought that was funny.
Right. She didn't seem to understand that if she didn't leave it to a person, I don't know what she thought would happen to it.
I think she just didn't want people to know where she came from. So I don't think she really cared. Yeah.
About her money as much as she
was protecting her name.
Yeah.
And, yeah, screw everyone else. She seems like she was intensely selfish, but also had incredible style.
Right.
And what is more important than that? I mean, really.
Exactly.
I mean, Dorothea.
Pour one out for Dorothea.
Oh, seriously, man, that is the life.
Yeah.
If only she could have treated her workers well. I feel like she could have treated her workers well and done all that shit, and then she really would have had it.
For sure. She could have sat on a throne and made people come up and, like, I don't know, kiss her hand or something.
And then given them $1,000.
Yeah.
She had all this money she wasn't doing anything with.
Right.
Yeah. Act like you're Mariah Carey, but then spread the wealth.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
That's my philosophy. Or it would be if I had money.
It's like Mariah Carey. Wealth to spread. Recently, Mariah Carey tweeted that she doesn't recognize time. Because people were doing that like puberty challenge where it's like a photo of you from 2009 and then 2019 to see how you've like glowed up. And Mariah Carey posted the same photo twice. And then she said, I don't get this. I don't recognize time. That's how wealthy she is. Time means nothing to her. It's kind of amazing. I mean, it makes, I don't know, maybe in a philosophical way. Sure.
Yeah,
There's no time.
Yeah.
You're right, Mariah Carey.
It's relative anyway.
I mean, we're all going to die, but whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe she won't somehow.
Maybe. Maybe she's 1,000,000 years old.
Maybe. Oh, that will connect to my recommendation. But first...
Okay, let's rate this episode.
Let's rate this episode.
Mysteriousness.
Pretty mysterious.
Yeah.
Your first thing is fucking mysterious.
Very mysterious.
And
Why
your second case is actually still kind of mysterious.
Yeah, technically never found that guy.
There's no treasure. And
That's
Dorothea's heirs were found, but I still give it a thumbs up for mysterious.
I agree. Fashion.
Pretty good.
Decent.
Not great. Maybe sideways on that.
It's a good showing. Yes.
If we include mustaches, then thumbs way up.
Oh, I skipped reenactments. Maybe that's because I didn't want to think about...
I almost give that a thumbs down because I hate the one in yours so much.
They're so exploitative and unnecessarily scary. And trying to think about Debbie watching that makes me ill.
So let's give that a thumbs down.
Yeah. Robert Stack.
I'm going to give him a thumbs up for being in a Botanica and kind of pretending like he could be a customer, as if that's something he does.
I liked it.
It's like, oh, I just stopped by to get a Virgin of Guadalupe and some candles.
He also
sure
had
you did, Robert
really
Stack.
good lines in this one.
Yes,
the
he did.
agent of both deaths were cyanide.
Yes, this was a quality Stack episode.
I agree.
Thumbs up.
So, out of a possible 5 Robert Stacks, 0 to 5.
I would give this, again, 3.5, 4.
I was just thinking a 3.5, possibly even a 4. I did like it. I liked your last segment.
I would knock it down, I guess, for yours being so scary.
Yeah.
So maybe 3.5.
3.5.
But I love this Dorothea thing so much. I think you should watch it. It has a tiny bit of like a Grey Gardens feel to it, except that she still had money. I just love that idea of being... They show her like in the mansion, like looking out the window to show you she's become a shut-in. Like, oh, since my Rolls Royce accident, I never leave the grounds. And I'm just like, I love this so much. Yes.
Amazing. Yes. So yeah, this was a good one. All right, let's roll right into recommendations.
Okay.
What do you got?
Speaking of being 1 million years old, I have a corporate recommendation that goddamn I wish I was being paid for, but I am not.
Okay.
Yesterday, Samantha knows.
I'm right. Yes.
I went to the Mall of America to go to Hot Topic. Why would I do such a thing, you ask? It's because they have a new collection for the 30th anniversary of Polly Pocket. And when I walked into the store, they have like a greeter person because that store is a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's just a ton of displays. Even where the line should be for the cash register are these like display. It's like, where are you supposed to stand?
You never know how to stand in line at a Hot Topic.
The music is so bad. Anyway, so I walk in and this woman was sort of like, how can I help you?
Where's your child? Whose mom are you?
Yeah, yes, exactly. And I was like, I'm here for Polly Pocket. And she was like, right this way. And she showed me the thing.
Oh, Liz is reaching down. I haven't seen what
was
Liz
worth
got.
It.
Oh, man.
So I got a purse that's like, it's like this beautiful pearly pink.
It's really,
and it
quilted.
Looks like a Polly Pocket.
It's in the shape of a heart.
It's it's quilted because it's basically Chanel. And I was actually very pleasantly surprised by the quality of this. When you open it up, it's like the inside. It's like the inside of a Polly Pocket. It has like the little room.
There's a little clutch.
I got a wallet. They did
matching.
They have a bunch of stuff. I only got stuff I was going to use. There's like a wristlet. There's a little backpack. It's all adorable. But I got a purse and this wallet, which is super cute and has the little like Polly charm on it. And I got a keychain that's also like a little compact.
It's matching.
There's a lip palette, which I knew I would never fucking use, but it looks like
a Polly Pocket.
Yeah. There's an eyeshadow thing. There's a bunch of stuff. But the reason I say, it's like I was 1 million years old is when I was checking out, the cashier was like, yeah, I never played with these when I was a child. Because I was born in 2000. And that's when I turned into dust. And I just fell away. And I wanted to go, oh, me too. And just stare at her. And I could tell that, like, as she was saying it, she was like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like, but I'm young and stupid. As I'm just standing there like, I could be your mom. Could I have my novelty purse and wallet, please? Anyway. It was still worth it. It was still worth feeling 1 million years old. I fucking love this. I think it's
beautiful.
So damn cute.
I'm so impressed by that.
I saw it online and I was really excited and I was like, I should really go look in this in person because it's probably going to be crap. And then I was like, no, I definitely want this. As someone that has Polly Pockets hanging on the wall of my house.
I have such fond memories of my sister and I playing with Polly Pockets.
I would get them when I was too old for them, but there's something about the like design and colors.
They're so fun. The little outfits
are just so appealing. Something about just a little clamshell of a world that may or may not light up. It's just, oh my God.
They were so small. I was telling someone the other day that my cousin's children are really into those LOLs.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where you have there's a surprise inside. You never know what you're going to get.
Those
and my cousin
dolls.
was describing going to Target to try and find the rare LOLs.
Yeah.
And grown women knocking each other over to get to the display and oh my goodness. Because all they wanted for Christmas was those LOLs. And then they have these other ones. I don't know what they're called, but you pop them and these little toys fly out. Okay. You also never know what you're going to get. It's like a surprise inside. Oh my God, those kids love those things. And I'm like, one day you're going to go into a Hot Topic.
Sure.
And they're going to
do the 30th anniversary of LOL.
Yes.
Because unlike every other mall store, Hot Topic is like still doing really well.
Yes.
Which is weird.
It's amazing.
It's much more like when back in my youth, 500 years ago, it was more clothing. And it's now more kind of pop culture stuff like this. Like, there's like an entire wall of just Funko Pops, like every fucking store. But, and a little bit less like mesh fingerless gloves. But I feel like you still can get those there.
Oh, of course.
But it's a more like Harry Potter things and, every like TV show ever. But then some of it is like clearly for old people. Maybe that's why it's still thriving.
They understand their audience.
So they're getting young people and then nostalgic people like me.
Yeah, they've had to evolve,
I guess. But the music was the same and so bad.
Some things never change.
And it's, I don't know. But I love you, Polly Pocket things. That's my recommendation.
It's an excellent recommendation.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. I was going to get this baseball cap, but I didn't because I saw a weird bow in the back. That was my one disappointment.
Okay. Yesterday you had mentioned possibly getting a baseball cap.
I was kind of excited about it for some reason, but when I actually looked at it, I was like,
I'll never wear this.
This is a little strange.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. I'm recommending an Etsy shop.
Cool.
I have been waiting to recommend this because my gift to my Secret Santa this year, which was friend of the pod, Rochelle, came from this Etsy shop, sort of. So I'm getting back into cross-stitching. My mom taught me how to cross-stitch when I was in high school. She is extremely good at it. And, like the new year rolls around and you just want to start something new.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, what would be really fun this winter when it's like a million degrees below zero is to just like sit on my couch with a movie and like do some crafts. And I'm not a crafty person, but I'm okay at cross-stitching. So I went on Etsy because when I learned how to cross-stitch, Etsy wasn't a thing. And so you pretty much just had what was at Joann's.
Which is like a goose wearing a bonnet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very... just not youthful, I'm gonna say. Pattern books and like kits and stuff. So I never really got hooked on it because I didn't want to cross stitch an angel.
This is gonna be a lot of time, to make a Christmas tree or
that I don't want,
or train.
So I went on Etsy, and lo and behold, there are lots and lots of shops dedicated to all kinds of stuff that piques my interest. In particular, I wanted to recommend this shop called Witchy Stitcher. Oh. That's where I got the pattern for Rochelle. And I realized that a lot of our listeners might not cross stitch. This is very niche, but if you're looking for a craft to get into, it's pretty easy. It's a little tedious, but it's one of those things that's kind of a nice de-stressor. If you're into coloring, coloring to relieve anxiety or just to give your hands something to do while you're like, I don't know, sitting around watching Netflix or whatever. It's very similar because you're just stitching these tiny little boxes. And then when it all comes together, it's a thing. So I really like, and I wanted to recommend this because one, it has witchy shit and they're all amazing. They have like Halloween patterns. The one I made Rochelle was this Grim Reaper and it said Killing It underneath.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was pretty cute. And I think it's good for beginners. So I'm not like an expert cross stitcher. I'm still consider myself a beginner.
What? You're not?
But this pattern was really easy because it was only 3 colors. It was black, white, and gray. Uh-huh. And it was all full cross stitches, which are the easiest ones to do. You don't have to do any kind of fancy shit with like quarter cross stitches or like half stitches, which I'm not very good at. And it was like pretty small. It cost like $5. It was really fun. So if you're looking for a crafty thing to do, or maybe you are a cross stitcher, it's not just for old ladies. Although I am an old lady inside, and maybe that's why it appeals to me.
You're a Dorothea,
yes,
in spirit. But
check out Etsy. If you're a beginner, sometimes like kits are nice because it comes with everything you need. But I think if those don't intrigue you, because they're all ducks and.
I bought a couple people for Christmas a little cross stitch kit of Pusheen.
Yes, I kind of want to do that.
I kind of want to get it for myself because that is it's small, but it has everything in it. It has like a very tiny hoop and the needles and thread and a couple different Pusheen patterns, and it's pretty cheap. Yeah. Sorry, people. I got that as a gift. Guess what?
It was cheap.
It was cheap. And I kind of want to get that for myself because it's like you could make a little Pusheen like holding a donut and stuff. It looks really cute.
It was really cute. And the thing I like about cross stitch too is it's a really inexpensive hobby. Like the floss, the little thread you buy for it is like 50 cents.
Yeah.
And it comes with a lot. Like, you're never, unless you're doing one of those gigantic patterns. I've joined a few cross-stitch groups on Facebook, and as you can imagine, there's some people in there that are intense.
Oh, you don't say.
Yes. I know, everyone's surprised. Those people probably go through a lot. But, like, for me, doing something really simple, it's, like, not an expensive hobby. So,
cool.
A way I've been enjoying my winter.
Cool.
That's all I have.
That's good. Why do you say that so apologetically?
I don't know.
Guys, that's all I have.
I'm sorry.
I have a recommendation that you probably hadn't heard of, and I just made your life better.
Look, it's no Polly Pocket Purse.
Well,
very few things are.
Go to the Mall of America, eat at Naf Naf Grill, and then summon up all your courage to go be the oldest person on Hot Topic by far, which did mean I knew the words to all the songs they were playing. But and then go, oh, none of these clothing would fit me in 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
And but this purse is super fucking cute.
It really is.
I will for sure use this because I don't dress appropriately for my mom age. my cool mystery aunt age.
Yep.
Anyway.
All right, let's plug our shit.
Oh, we have so much stuff. We have all the social medias at Perhaps It's You.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
You should email us a paranormal story, or if you knew Dorothea, or if you were once in a Rolls Royce accident. We want to know about it. Is Perhaps It's You Gmail.
Perhaps It's You podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, it's
you were
that.
close. You were close. There's also an email form, like a contact form on our website, perhapsit'syou.com. That might be easier.
Patreon. We have new rewards.
Throw us some money and you'll get some cool shit.
This month we're going to be talking about Hotel Hell.
Yes.
And
next month we're talking about Ghost Adventures. That's going to be a treat. Oh, we also figured out names. Well, I shouldn't say we. Liz figured out names for our Patreon tiers. We have Mystery Solver.
Super Mystery Solver.
And Super Duper Mystery Solver.
Yes.
So go check that out.
Okay. Thank you everyone who pledged or upped their pledge. You're amazing. So we introduced a $10 tier, which some people were already giving that much. What? Why?
Baffling.
Thank you. But then someone, I think it's Amy, went from 10 to 15. And I was like, Amy, you don't get anything more. Do we need to... Okay, that's my question.
Amy just wants to be our favorite, which...
Congratulations, you are. Do we need to come up with an even higher tier?
We're maxed out. We probably will eventually.
Okay.
But I think we need to see how this goes.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
Thank you, Amy.
And I don't know. We have Super Mystery Solver, Super Duper Mystery Solver. How higher can we go? Super Duper Duper Mystery Solver?
Or Extra Super Duper Mystery Solver plus Phantom Pig.
Sure.
That
makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. I want to plug my own stuff.
Oh, you totally should.
Which is that you should follow me, the person, on Instagram to see my art stuff as Everybody Likes Liz.
Yep.
And I also have a website that's everybodylikesliz.com. You can see stuff I'm working on.
Why is this the first time you've ever plugged this on our podcast?
You know what? It's just like never occurred to me. And then when we were but when we had Cara, we recorded with Cara for...
She's going to join us
Ghost
for
Adventures.
Ghost Adventures
And we were
month.
talking about her stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I should like maybe mention that. Maybe people would hire me to write something or make some art.
Yeah, you should really check out Liz's Instagram. Also, Liz and friend of the pod, Cara, have teamed up to make art together.
Yeah, so I'll announce shows and stuff that we're doing on here.
Yeah.
I suppose.
If you go to our Instagram account for Perhaps It's You, you'll see Liz's shit tagged. And yeah, go follow her. Check out some ghost pillows that she's been making that are...
Yes. Thank you to
super
listeners
adorable.
who bought ghost pillows also. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're all the best. All right. I think that's it.
Go solve some mysteries, bitches.
Bye.
Bye.